everyone. So in this lesson, we are going to cover Cambridge Book 10, Test 1. Right? This is again for academic students. If you're doing GT, you have a separate set of questions. So if you're doing GT, please don't follow this through. Only academic students, you can follow this video through. Now, before we go ahead with the remaining bit of the lesson, I'd like you to do the paper. So time yourself for 1 hour and do the paper. You can download the paper, right, and do it. If you're doing paper-based, it's better if you can print it and have it with you. If you're doing computer-based, of course, then you can use the soft copy. But remember, actually, when you are doing the computer-based, you will have the questions, the reading passage on this side and the questions on this side. Okay, so it's on the same screen, just in 2 panes, where you have this side your reading passage and on the other side we have the questions. Okay, so I'd like you to pause the video here, time yourself for 1 hour, do all 40 questions. At the end, when you finish, let's have a look at the answers. Alright, so I hope you would have finished the paper by now. Let's have a look at the answers. So I'd like you to mark the answers. Make sure that you're checking for spelling. False, true, not given, not given. Then we have true. Pavilions, not pavilion, pavilions with the S. Drought. Tourists, again plural. Earthquake. 4, or you can write it in numbers or words, sides. Tank. Verandas, okay, with the H, or just verandas. Underwater. Then you have 8, 3, 9, 6, 11. I think I was very bad with Roman numbers today, okay? So 8, 3, 11, 1, 5, 10, 2, 4. True, false, not given, false. Then passage 3, you have C, A, D, B, G, E, A, F, B. No, yes, not given, and no. Okay, so let's have a look at why these are the answers. Now, before we move ahead, I'd like you to obviously have the paper in front of you. If you have the printed version, then that's okay. Keep it in front of you while watching the video. If you don't, then make sure you have the paper on one side of the screen and on the other side you can have my video. Because if you don't have the paper, you can't follow through with me in this video. The whole idea is that you should have the paper with you while you're watching this video. Now, why do I want you to do that? To make it more interactive. If not, you're just watching the screen when you're doing it, but there's no real engagement. At least when I say para C, para D, you're going there, you're scrolling up and down, you're looking, you're underlining, you're engaging with it. So that will help you to keep focused throughout the lesson. Okay? Right, so here we have para 1 to 12. 1 during the 6th and 7th it goes on. Para 2 unique to this region. Para 3 as their name suggests. 4 some wells. 5 down the centuries. 6 however some important sites. 7 in Patan. 8 another example is 9 Rajasthan. 10 in the old ruined town. 11 still in public use. 12 today. Okay? Questions 1 to 5. Do the following statements agree with the information given in the reading passage? So, let's have a look at the first question. Examples of an ancient step well, okay, can be found all over the world. Examples of ancient step wells, right? So, let's have a look at it. Ancient step wells all over the world. At the beginning of para 2, the author says, right, unique to this region, step wells are. Then he continues, most step wells are found dotted around and in desert areas of Gujarat and Rajasthan, while a few also survive in Delhi. So what does this mean? Examples of ancient step wells can be found all over the world. So this means the step wells are typical of Gujarat, Rajasthan and New Delhi, or rather Delhi. They can only be found in such places, not all over the world. They don't use all over the world. Most step wells are dotted and can be found in areas of Gujarat, Rajasthan, while a few also survive in Delhi. So if they tell you all over the world, this bit here is wrong. So the answer is false. Second one. Step wells had a range of functions in addition to those related to water collection. So range of functions apart from water collection. Let's go to para 2. Author says, during their heyday, they, that means the step wells, were places of gathering, of leisure and relaxation and of worship for villagers. Okay, so these places were gathering of leisure, relaxation, worship of villagers, but all of the lowest class. Then he continues, some were located near the villages as public spaces for the community. Others were positioned beside roads as resting places for travelers. So beside the collection of water, these were used for different functions as mentioned. Gathering of leisure, relaxation, worship of villagers, different uses. Therefore, the answer is true. Third one, the few existing step wells in Delhi are more attractive than those found elsewhere. So, few existing step wells Delhi more attractive than elsewhere. So, let's have a look at para 2. Okay, this says it says some places where the step wells can be found were mentioned. Okay, a few also survived in Delhi was also mentioned. However, the comparison, they were nice, they were attractive is there. A few survived in Delhi is also there, but more attractive. More attractive means a comparative form. But do we have that comparison in our reading passage? Not really. So we don't know if it was more attractive or less attractive. So the answer would be not given. It took workers many years to build the stone steps characteristic of step wells, right? So it took many years to build stone steps of step wells. So only paragraphs 3 and 4 talk about or rather refer to the steps, but nowhere do they refer it to talk about how many years they took the stone steps to build, right? Did they take many years or not? We don't really know because it doesn't mention anything about it. So therefore the answer is not given. The next one. The number of steps above the water level in a step well altered during the course of a year, right? So number of steps above water level in a step well was altered. Right, go to para 3. When the water level was high, the user needed only to descend a few steps to reach it. When it was low, several levels would have to be negotiated. This means that the water level changed during the year, which means that the number of steps above the water level changed too. So it's true. When there was a lot of water, only a few steps, but when there was less water, more steps. Because of this change of water level during the year, the number of steps above the water level changed too. So the answer is true. Number 6. Answer the questions below. Choose one word only from the passage for each answer, right? So you should choose only one word from the passage. Question number 6. Which part of some step wells provided shade for people? So which part provided shade? The author describes the step wells in para, as I told you before, so 3 and 4. But if you go into para 4 more closely and read through, we should focus on the fourth one, right? Built from stone and supported by pillars, they means what? The step wells also included pavilions that sheltered the visitors from relentless heat. So what sheltered them? What was provided for shade? The pavilions. So the S is compulsory. In what type of serious climatic event which took place in southern Rajasthan is mentioned in this article? So which one is a climatic event which took place in southern Rajasthan? Southern Rajasthan is mentioned for the first time in para 5. So we will focus on that para. That is scanning. At the end of the paragraph, the author indicates southern Rajasthan suffered an 8-year drought between 1996 to 2004, right? So what is the event that took place in southern Rajasthan? A drought. Drought kila kiyanne niyangayak. Right. So the answer is drought. Question number 8. Who are frequent visitors to step wells nowadays? So we should find out the paragraph that contains information about step wells today, and that is the last para. So if you go to the last para, the author says or rather argues, tourists flock to wells in far-flung corners of northwestern India to gaze in wonder at these architectural marvels from hundreds of years ago. So what does this mean? That nowadays a huge number of tourists visit India to look at these wells. So who are frequent visitors to step well nowadays? Tourists. They are your frequent visitors. If you say tourist, it's wrong because who are they? Tourists, plural. Questions 9 to 13. Complete the table below. Choose one word and an or a number from the passage for each answer. We will focus on para 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. each of which describes a well-known well, right? So look at the paragraphs which give the different place names and pay attention to dates and numbers in the text too. That's what you need to focus. Excellent condition despite the blank of 2001. So keywords are excellent condition 2001. Go to para 7. Incredibly, in January 2001, this ancient structure survived an earthquake. Right? So despite an earthquake, it still survived. So excellent condition despite the earthquake. Alright, so the answer here is earthquake. Let's have a look at the next one, question number 10 and 11, right? Steps on the something produce a geometrical pattern, right? So steps, geometrical pattern looks more like a than a well. So what does it look more like? Looks more like a than a well. Go to para 8. It actually resembles a tank rather than a well. So what does it look more like? It looks more like a tank. So question number 11, tank. Keep reading, but displays the hallmarkers of step well architecture, including 4 sides of steps that descend to the bottom in a stunning geographical formation, right? This means that the step well of Suryakunda looks more like a tank. Besides it, the steps on the 4 sides that create a geometrical formation. Okay? So, steps on the 4 sides produce a geometrical pattern. 4 sides, as only one word and an or a number is accepted, 4 sides is a wrong answer. Now remember here, can you see here? Even though it's like this, right, I wanted to touch on that. If you come to your answer, right, it's asking you for one word. Can you remember the question? Complete, choose one word and an or a number. Now, if you write 4 sides like this, right, so because it has one word and an or a number, if we write like this, it's wrong because we have 2 words there. But if we write 4 sides like this, it's correct because it's got a word and a number. Okay? And the other thing is obviously hyphenated words are single words. So some students might write like this, but 4 sides is usually not an hyphenated word. So I wouldn't advise you to do that. So this is the right answer. So I wanted to come up to here to show you why that answer was wrong. If not, you would say, oh miss, but it's 4 sides. It is, but it doesn't match with the instructions. Right, okay. Next question, question number 12. Has something which provide a view of the steps. Go to para 10. On the 4th side, verandas, which are supported by ornate pillars, overlook the step. So, has verandas which provide a view of the step. So, that is the answer. Has 2 levels of what? 2 levels. Go to para 8. The author argues constructed in around 1700, it is 9 stories deep with the last 2 being underwater. So has 2 underwater levels. Not that difficult, just to pinpoint where your answer is. If you know where your answer is, you can easily find the answer. So the question is, how do we find out the place? So එකට තියෙන හොඳම විදිය තමයි to follow skimming and scanning techniques, right? Questions number 14 to 21, passage 2. European transport systems 1990 to 2010. 14 to 21, reading passage 2 has 9 paras, A to I, you've got to match them. Paragraph A. The author says, although modern information technologies can reduce the demand for physical transport by facilitating teleworking and teleservices, the requirement for transport continues to rise. The main idea is the requirement for transport continues to rise, right? So you can see that that is their main idea. So the main idea that the author gives is that the two factors, one of which is the spectacular growth in car use. So the correct heading for A is definitely going to be 8, the rapid growth of private transport. You can see that here. Okay. Question number 15, para B. The first sentence is also the main idea of the para. As far as goods transport is concerned, growth is due to a large extent to changes in the European economy and its system of production. So what happens? Changes affecting the distances goods may be transported. It says that goods transport is concerned, changes in the European economy and its systems of production. So then the author indicates that these changes cause some production sites to be relocated far away from the final assembly plant or away from users, perhaps even hundreds of miles, thousands of kilometers away. This means that these changes affect the transport distances. So the correct heading for B is definitely number 3. If you go to para C, the author provides many transport statistics or transport trends in some countries which are candidates for entry to the EU. The trends include an increase in road haulage and decrease in rail haulage. These countries are awaiting admission to become members of the EU. So the correct heading for para C is definitely 11, transport trends in the countries awaiting EU admission. So when you read it, බලනකොටම අපිට පේනවා EU එක ගැන තියෙන transport ගැන තමයි it's talking about. Very clear to understand. Question number 17, para D. A new imperative, sustainable development, offers an opportunity for adapting the EU's common transport policy. So this paragraph is about a long-term objective which is new and important for adapting the EU's common transport policy. The correct heading definitely for then para D is number 1. Okay. So here, why is it number 1? So imperative, I want you to have a look at it. Dictionaries generally define imperative as a noun, as an essential duty that should be done. In this sense or in this context, we can say that promoting sustainable development is a duty which the EU hope to fulfill. So this is very similar like to a goal or an objective, although it is not an exact synonym. Okay. So here, a fresh and important long-term goal, that is why we would choose number 1. Right, para E. The effect of energy consumption in transport in the transport sector on the environment is mentioned. Specifically, CO2 emissions are estimated to increase by 50% in 2020. Why is this? Due to the heavy traffic growth trend and road transport, which is also the main cause of CO2 emissions attributable to transport. So finding some solutions is an ecological necessity. Therefore, I would say it is number 5, the environmental costs of road transport. So let's have a look at paragraph G. Now, in para E, of course, the author was emphasizing the importance of achieving transport rebalance. But therefore, in para G, details the first solution, right, which focuses on road transport solely through pricing. In the short term, this approach might curb the growth in road transport. Curb means restrict the growth of road transport. So, if you have a look at the headings, restricting road use through charging policies alone, that is what they are having a look at. Solely focusing on road users through pricing. Okay. So, charging policy. Charging means that you ask them to pay, pricing. Okay. So, the most appropriate answer is 10. 20, paragraph H. This is about the second solution to achieve transport balance. So, this approach concentrates on road transport pricing but is accompanied by measures to increase the efficiency of other modes. So, better quality of services, logistics and technology. Therefore, charging for roads and also improving other transportation methods, services, logistics, technology. So, the answer there is 2. 21, para I. It goes on to say, the third approach compromises a series of measures ranging from pricing to revitalizing alternative modes of transport and targeting investment in the trans-European network. This means that the third approach may change transport patterns. So, taking all the necessary steps to change transport patterns. Everything is about changing transport patterns here. The answer would be 4. Questions number 22 to 26. Do the following statements agree with the information given in reading passage 2? Now, the need for transport is growing despite technological developments. So, keywords, growing, technological developments. Go to para A. So, there is a need for transport. The need for transport is growing, right, regardless of the technology development. Although modern information technologies can reduce the demand for physical transport by facilitating telenetworking and teleservices, the requirement for transport continues to rise. So what does it say? Even though these modern technologies increase, when it increases, you can make sure that, all these tele things are increasing. But it doesn't happen that way. Still, the requirement for transport keeps on increasing. So, this is true. Question number 23. To reduce production costs, some industries have been moved closer to their relevant customers. Closer, relevant customers. Go to para B. This phenomena has been emphasized by the relocation of some industries, particularly those which are labor intensive, to reduce production costs, even though the production site is hundreds or even thousands of kilometers away, the final assembly or away from customers. This means that some industries are moved much far away from their relevant customers. They don't move closer. So definitely answer is false. Right? Question number 24. Cars are prohibitively expensive in some EU candidate countries. So, some EU candidate countries. EU candidate countries are only mentioned in para C, but the author does not provide any information about the prices of these country cars, right? So I don't know if it is expensive or not because they don't give us the price. So answer is not given. Question number 25. The Gothenburg European Council was set up 30 years ago, right? So 30 years ago, the Gothenburg European Council, it only appears to be in paragraph D, but I don't know when it was exactly established because it doesn't talk about it. So answer is not given. Question number 26. By the end of this decade, CO2 emissions from transport are predicted to reach 739 billion tons. Go to para E. CO2 emissions from transport can be expected to increase 50% to 1,113 billion tons. So is it going to be 739? No, it's going to be 1,113 billions, okay? And it says by the end of this decade, so definitely not. Answer is false. Question number 27 to 30. Choose the correct letter A, B, C or D. The example of the $1 million quartet underlines the writer's points about what? A. Recognizing talent. B. Working as a team. C. Having a shared objective. D. Being an effective leader. Right, so let's have a look at the keywords. I've already underlined it. Go to para 3. The author indicates that while 4 people in the picture, $1 million quartet, who are Presley, Cash, Perkins and Lewis, understood and believed in Philip's ambition of revolutionizing popular music, Roy Orbison, who was not in the picture, wasn't inspired by this goal. Therefore, the example of the picture emphasizes the author's point about having a shared objective. Okay, so what was his point? Having a shared objective. So therefore, I think it is C. Next one. So A, B, C and D are given here. James Watson suggests that he and Francis Crick won the race to discover the DNA code because they, right, suggests. The race to discover DNA code because they did what? So at the end of para 6, he, that is James Watson, and Crick had succeeded because they were aware that they weren't the most intelligent of the scientists pursuing the answer. The smartest scientist was called Rosalind Franklin, who was so intelligent she rarely sought advice. This means that unlike Franklin, who was too intelligent to need help of the others, James Watson and Crick knew they had limitations. Therefore, they cooperated with each other and successfully discovered the DNA code, right? So they knew that they were not so good, so they went together and found the DNA code. So I think the answer would be E. 29. The writer mentions competitions on breakfast cereal packets as an example of how to do what? Go to para 8. Even something as simple as writing deepens every individual's engagement in the project. Then the writer explains competitions on breakfast cereal packets as an example to support this finding. Right? So it's for you to kind of deepen all your ideas, right? Inspire creative, no. Promote loyalty, generate consensus, no. But strengthen commitment to an idea, yes. To think deeper, definitely. Answer is D. Question number 30. In the last paragraph, the writer suggests that it is important for employees to do what? Okay. So, last paragraph, important for employees to do what? If you go to the last paragraph, it says, leaders should encourage everyone to contribute and simultaneously assure all concerned that every recommendation is important to making the right decision and will be given full attention. Okay, so that their contributions are actually valued. Answer is B. You don't respect co-workers, you don't understand why certain management decisions, no. Company goals, definitely no. About their contributions, yes, definitely. Okay, here, everyone to contribute and simultaneously assure that all concerned that every recommendation is important and the right decision will be given full attention. Questions number 31 to 35. Complete each sentence with the correct ending A to G. Employees whose values match those of their employers are more likely to do what? Match the ending. Go to para 2. The writer says, now before that let's mark the keywords. Employees whose values match those of their employers are likely to do what? Research shows that the fit between employees' values and a company's values make the difference to what contribution they make and whether they are still at the company. This means that the value fit has an influence on whether the employees remain in their jobs or not. So the answer is G. 32. At times of change, people tend to do what? Go to paragraph 4. The author mentions when things change, we are hardwired and play it safe. Play it safe means we avoid risk. So this means that when there are changes, people will of course avoid risks. They play safe. Play safe, avoid risks. Answer therefore is E. 33. If people are aware of what they might lose, they will often do what? Go to para 4 towards the end. Studies show that we invariably take more gambles when threatened with a loss than when offered a reward. This means that when threatened with a loss, people take more chances. If you don't have anything, you take that chance and see. So therefore, the answer is A. 34. People working under a dominant boss are liable for what? Go to paragraph 9. And there it says, crew members of multiple pilot aircraft exhibit a sometimes deadly passivity when the flight captain makes clearly wrong-headed decision. This behavior is not unique to air travel but would happen in any workplace where the leader is overbearing. Overbearing means very dominant. Okay? This means that when people are working under very dominant bosses, they tend to be more passive. In other words, they are liable to ignore their duties. So therefore, the answer is F. 35. Employees working in organizations with few roles are more likely to do what? Para 10. If you go there and read, it indicates that the environment where the only rule was there were no rules encouraged a free interchange of ideas, which means when there were less rules, they were more likely to share their ideas, exchange their ideas. So answer is B. 36 to 40. Do the following statements agree with the claims of the writer in the reading passage? 36. The physical surroundings in which a person works play a key role in determining creativity. Go to the first para. There it states, there are nevertheless people working in luxurious, state-of-the-art centers designed to stimulate innovation who find that environment doesn't make them feel at all creative. Right? So some people, nothing makes it creative, right? So physical surrounding in which a person works key role determines their creativity? No. It says there doesn't make them feel at all creative. So the answer is no. 37. Most people, not everyone, most people have potential to be creative. Go to para 2 and towards the end of para 2. Although some individuals may be more creative than others, almost every individual can be creative in the right circumstances. So most people have potential to be creativity? Yes, definitely. It says so. Have the potential means can be creative. So answer is true or yes. Question number 38. Teams work best when their members are of equally matched intelligence. Go to para 7 where it deals with teamwork, right? The writer does not actually mention about the productiveness, about are they working equally, do they work best or not, right? So we don't really know. So the answer is not given. 39. It is easier for smaller companies to be innovative. Now, if you go to para 5, the writer argues that it's easy for a company to be pulled in conflicting directions as the marketing, product development and finance departments each get different feedback from a different set of peoples. But is it easier for smaller companies? Doesn't really mention anything about smaller companies or, being easier to do it. So I would say not given. And our last question for this paper. A manager's approval of an idea is more persuasive, comparative than that of a colleague, right? Go to the end of para 6. Research shows peer power used horizontally, not vertically, is much more powerful than any boss's speech. So yes, a manager's approval of an idea is more persuasive than of a colleague. So moving on into the last question, okay? A manager's approval of an idea is more persuasive. When we say more persuasive, it is comparative than of a colleague. Go to para 6 and go towards the end. Research shows that peer power, peer means your colleague, used horizontally, not vertical, is much more powerful than any boss's speech. Okay, so boss means obviously manager. Actually, a colleague's power is more than any boss's speech that you can get. So answer is here. It says boss's idea is more persuasive. No, peer or colleague's one is more persuasive. So the answer is no. So here I think we have discussed all 40 questions, and as I always tell you, the most important part is that you engage while I am doing the answers, not just watching it like you're watching a movie, right? And the other one is that you critically evaluate as to why your answer is wrong. So with that, we come to the end of the discussion. We discussed about Test 1 under Cambridge Book 10.